So yeah, Sam is here to victory lap his contrarianism, finally working out in his favor. Honestly, I have to say, on the whole, it doesn't always work out.
Mm-hmm. We have our Hawks. We have our Hawks losses that we take every once in a while.
Sure.
You know?
You have the Hawks. That's an L for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, you get Wolves are winning the West. You get
Celtics are going to go down 3-0 and then win the next 3 games, only to lose game 7. You get a few.
You also get, sometimes you get Damian Lillard would have ruined the Miami Heat.
We were so close to the perfect timeline. Oh, can you imagine if it was Jimmy Butler and Damian Lillard, like in that press conference? Like, you were so close to the good timeline. That's like when you think about timelines where FDR like didn't name Truman vice president. It's a similar effect, like, damn. What if Joe?
Yeah, I'm sure we would have gotten a moral, ethical president if it weren't for that.
Honestly, I think it's better for everyone because then the Celtics wouldn't have been a super team with Drew. Like right now, they would just have no perimeter defenders right now. They'd have
You're saying if Henry Wallace won, then
yeah.
The Celtics actually, in retrospect, then if we're avoiding the Celtics super team universe, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, this is also rest in piss bozo to the most fraudulent MVP of all time, Nikola Jokic, who's finally been shown to be nothing but a chunky, lazy piece of shit. He can't do anything right. Fuck him. This is not about the Wolves being good. This is about Nikola Jokic being terrible.
This is honestly, this is a double victory for you because you get to say fraud MVP, pity MVP for Jokic, and also the Lakers are the worst team that have ever existed.
That's the one that's the agenda item I really care about. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to pivot and say, like I saw Russillo talking about, this is a very fun time because people are doing the real version of my hyperbolic thing. I think people are actually saying, yeah, Jokic is bad, which is just, that's not true. Okay. But you also have, I'm pretty sure. You also have people like Russillo being like, oh, great. Now everyone hates Jokic. It's like, no, nobody hates Jokic.
This is, by the way, if you want to call him the greatest player since peak LeBron, this is what comes with it, bud.
Yes.
Look, Jokic is an amazing player. We've called him the best player in the league. He's why I picked the Nuggets to come out of the West. Also, Jokic dick riders are getting 100% karma right now because you have called him literally the best player since peak LeBron, better than peak Steph Curry, the last unanimous MVP we had, better than a guy whose team won. I don't even count how many games in those 2 seasons before they got KD. Right. And this is your comeuppance. This is it. This is, if you want to say that he's that, this is what the pressure is like. Jokic hasn't had the pressure before because he won a championship the first year they were healthy. He's been undeniably the best player in the playoffs for the last few years. And also, the Jamal Murray thing might have hurt their window a little bit, but also eventually you're going to run into some adversity. Eventually you're going to run into a team that matches up well with you, especially one that has your former GM that knows how to build against you. And this to me is less about, I know it's shocking because it's the Nuggets. Mm-hmm. It's shocking to me that the Nuggets got punked in the way that they did last night. To me, this is more about the Wolves than it is about the Nuggets on the whole. Like we said all year, once again, I picked the Nuggets to come out of the West. I'm not saying that I was on this. I even thought the Timberwolves were going to lose in the first round. I love them as a regular season team. I didn't think the offense would be good enough in the playoffs. I was completely wrong. I'm taking the L on that. But we also said all year, the Nuggets aren't unbeatable. The Nuggets are a team that their bench sucks. Right now, the supporting cast around Jokic has not been particularly good.
Two guys get dinged up, and all of a sudden they're mortal.
Exactly. Which is exactly what we were saying all year, which is a KCP ankle sprain, Jamal Murray, whatever injury he's dealing with right now. And they're very top heavy. They lost Bruce Brown. They weren't able to replace his production. And all those guys taking a step back. Plus, Jokic is defensive effort being absolutely terrible every single night in these playoffs so far has been honestly the fact it has really sunk them so far. But I do want to focus more on the fact that the Wolves are incredible. Like the Wolves are Rudy Gobert didn't play last night. I thought we were going to do the Rudy Gobert innocent victory lap on this, but now I'm like,
Naz Reid just goated. That's like one of the great. Again, Tim Conley fucking did it again.
Yes.
To me, the iteration of this, because that was kind of how I was able. I did not see this coming. I did not see the Wolves winning 2 in Denver. You know, I picked Wolves in 7, which I thought was pretty aggressive on my thing. But I have been a pretty big believer in this Wolves team as someone who would scale well in the playoffs and particularly give Denver trouble. But I think what I didn't see coming, and I think what's really differentiated them, I was able to see, I think Jaden McDaniels not having a broken hand and being able to play will help. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker, getting the Nickeil Alexander-Walker as a throw-in, as a solidifying guard guy who is kind of just a genuine, like, all defense level defender on the perimeter that you can put behind Mike Conley, and getting Naz Reid on that extension for the dual backup purposes of backing up Gobert and Cat when either of them, because both of those guys have bozo mode in them. And Naz Reid is not bozo mode. He is just an absolute solid rock. We talk all the time about the no shitters policy and how you don't want to be playing shitters. Yeah. The Wolves in their playoff rotation is an ultimate no shitters thing. You've got, I think, probably their worst rotation player is maybe Mike Conley, and he's like a
very good role player.
He's a really good guy. Yeah, like, you know, he's been like a real person. Yeah. So yeah,
I totally. First off, they've taken the no shitter. Them and the Knicks have taken the no shitters thing to another level, where it's like, the Wolves are a better version of this.
Yeah,
but the Wolves, I think everything, like, everyone's gonna now say, they're going to look at the Celtics, they're going to look at the Wolves, and they're going to say, okay, how do we build our teams like this? And I kind of think the answer is you just gotta get a little lucky. Like, some of this was good scouting, obviously. Great scouting of them to pick up McDaniels at the end of the first in the 2020 draft, the last front office. Great scouting that completely owned us to say the Gobert Cat thing will work.
Yeah.
Because after a year, we were like, when we did our front office rankings, a Wolves fan said this to me. When we did our front office rankings, we had them in the bottom tier based off of last year. And this was obviously before Nickeil Alexander-Walker popped. This was when the Gobert thing looked like a disaster. He was punching Kyle Anderson in the face. And he even said, no, this Wolves fan even said,
yeah,
I thought it was fair at the time. He was like, I thought that they went full bozo mode. They fucked up this window, but they believed in the vision. They were patient. And like I said, some of it includes a little bit of good scouting. Some of it includes a little bit of good luck. The good luck being, Nickeil Alexander-Walker being as good as he is as a throw-in in this trade, even though I liked the acquisition at the time. I didn't think it was going to be anything that really had an impact on what, like, he's a legit starting level guy they could bring off the bench. Naz Reid, like you said, like, no team throwing a bag at Naz Reid in free agency. That's luck. It was smart of them to lock up Naz Reid, but it's also luck that OKC or one of these teams, the Magic, the Spurs, whoever, didn't just say, let's throw $20 million a year. Like we were saying a year ago, they should have. And good on the Wolves, because they've been able to take advantage and build this team that is long, athletic, skilled, and really built for playoff basketball, especially that defense. That defense is fucking insane. And honestly, I can't even, I watch it, I'm like, I can't even blame the Nuggets, dude. They kind of broke their brains.
Yeah. No, they just beat the hell out of them, in a crazy way. Good point by Katrina in the comments. They threw a bag at a third center and it worked.
Yeah.
For real. Yeah.
When does that ever work?
Yeah, seriously. It really does. And I want to defend ourselves real quick though, because that's true. We did that a year ago. However, 2 years ago, when the Gobert trade came out, we were more positive on it. History will vindicate us in the reaction. Now, did we cowardly run off that as soon as it looked bad year in? Yes. However,
did I get mad at you for convincing me the trade wasn't bad? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes that happens. Yeah, the contrarianism. Look again, Wolves contrarianism. Tim Conley. I'm sorry we doubted you, King.
Yeah,
the Prince is
owning us.
back. Like, yeah, we've been owned.
He's built both these teams basically. I mean, the framework, the core of these teams were, some of the Wolves were already in place when he got there. And then Denver put the final touches on it with KCP when he left and Bruce Brown last year. Yeah. But we're looking at a guy that might have essentially built some of the important parts of a championship level team in back-to-back years on two different teams. This does not happen.
Yeah. I mean, look, Conley even made the Jazz competent tangentially with the Gobert trade, by getting them Lauri Markkanen, like, wasn't that all the same trade or no?
The Caps.
Same thing. Blow up. I'm crediting Conley through that as the transitive property because he's the one who traded Gobert first. So Mitchell was going to have to be traded. That's how nobody else gets credit.
He gets all the credit right now. We're prisoner of the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this, job's not done. I will say it's
no, absolutely not. But to win 2 games in Denver to start the series
that's something. The fastest this series could be over is in 6 for a Denver team that Bill called on the pod literally 11 days ago, the third best team he's seen this century, behind the 2017
Warriors.
The 2017 Warriors. And who else did he say? I think might have said the 2016 Cavs. He said the Heat were a little worse. He said the 2012 Heat were a little.
I remember he said the Heatles were a little bit worse.
Yeah.
It was the 2001 Lakers, I believe. He put them up there with.
That's what he was.
But still, that was always an overreaction. We knew that this team was mortal, and it's not even because of Jokic. Like I really don't think he's getting as much help as he should get right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the energy of the team, because the fact that these role players are coming up short and because Jamal Murray isn't 100% healthy right now, and because of all this shit, Jokic's energy is 100% feeding on that. Like his defensive effort, he looks flustered for the first time I've ever seen him flustered in the playoffs. Like he does not turn the ball over this much. He does not make decisions like this in big situations. And it's kind of made the whole team fall apart because they're only as good as he can carry them sometimes. And right now the Wolves have figured out something, I don't know what it is, about this matchup that they really like. And look, we always thought they were the best matchup for them.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any of this coming. I thought maybe a hard-fought 7-game series, and I'm still trusting the team that has the Jokic-Murray 2-man game at the end of the day because all these games are going to be close, and in close matchups, the Nuggets just always figure out a way to win. But all of the comparisons to the historically good teams, one, it's really hard to build those teams nowadays. Like, it's just hard to maintain a salary cap, especially when this is a team that will eventually have to pay like big tax bills if they want to keep it together. Yeah. But it is hard to constantly do that. And the part of the thing is that Calvin Booth is like now like, all right, let's take a bunch of swings in the draft, end of the first, beginning of the second, and hope we hit a Peyton Watson or we hit on Christian Brown or whatever. Yeah. And while those guys have worked out to an extent, they're still really young, they're inexperienced, and they're being asked to do more this year than they were last year on that championship team. And it's going to take probably another stroke of luck for them and a little bit better health luck in order to have a consistently good team in a Western Conference that we've talked about that is absolutely fucking stacked. And the Wolves, everything kind of came together for them. Like Karl Anthony Towns getting injured when he did seemed like it could sink their ceiling. Cause we like, even you said like, you think they'd be better with Naz Reid than Cat. Cat's been awesome in these playoffs, and we have to give him his flowers for that. He's has like 70% true shooting, I think, in these playoffs. Like he's and this is the thing with Cat. And look, I don't really even care about the foul problems because it's kind of just part of who he is. But this is the thing that we always were. I've always felt like we were frustrated with Cat. I feel like there was like this like trio of guys: Karl Anthony Towns, Sabonis, and Julius Randle, that were really good regular season players that would give you like a stable floor that everyone felt like when we got to the playoffs, they capped your ceiling because of physical limitations or because of mental errors or whatever it is, just not being good enough to be like top guys on good teams. And to his credit, I think he was always the one we thought could break out of this, because the fact that he is such a dead-eye shooter at almost 7 foot, and the fact that he has kind of changed his role, played really well as a 4 next to other bigs, and is honestly having a really good defensive playoffs too.
Yeah.
Like, I never expected to see this level. Like, honestly, when he was a prospect, I thought he was going to be like this, because I remember going back to that draft, he was always projected to be like this 2-way big. And this is the first time that he's really reaching his potential. And my question for you is, how will history look upon Jimmy Butler for chasing away 2 winners in Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns and getting out of that situation?
I think what we're learning here is he's cursed. He was sent. The only way he can find the lathe of heaven is to return to where it all began, where the wheels came off. That's right, the Philadelphia 76ers, and guide them to a title as their 3rd best player. So,
sit back on his pandering bullshit.
Yeah. Yes, it's Jimmy. You have to go back. You have to. Jimmy will never play for the Sixers because he can barely stand being the 2nd best player on a team. There's no way he will be able to handle being the 3rd best player on a team. Jimbo
said that he left the win zone for the cool zone.
Yes,
he just wanted the cool points.
Exactly. I do. Yeah, I mean, the other thing we just got to touch on real quick is speaking of cool zone, Cat might be already, not Cat. Ant might already be exiting the cool zone. Like, he's so fucking good now. Like, this is honestly like pretty similar to me. Now, here's what I would say. It honestly reminds me a lot of Jason Tatum, like when Jason Tatum had like kind of his coming out party, where Jason Tatum like had like that duel with LeBron in like the Eastern Conference Finals, like his rookie year. Like, he and Jaylen Brown were putting up those huge numbers, and they went way further. That hospital Celtics team went way further than anybody thought, and everyone was like, "Oh my god! Like, the league is over. Like, these guys are so good. Once Kyrie and like Gordon Hayward are back, like this is."
Yeah, and Jaylen Brown told Taylor Rooks that they were going to win 5 titles.
He might still do it. I'm just saying.
I think it was before age 26, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Look, I'm going to defend Jaylen here. You could put me in front of Taylor Rooks. I would say anything. I would say anything. That's not a fair comparison. That's like context. Like,
it's very, very good point. Yes.
Yeah. Like, I would tell Taylor Rooks that, yeah, I'm probably curing cancer next year. I don't know. Fuck around, make a quick 30 million.
Listen, I've been going to the gym, and I'm just saying, if I was on the plane, I would have at least taken it to the ground. It was not ending up in one of those buildings.
Yeah. No. Like, yeah, but anyway, I think Ant is gonna be. I'm watching your career with great interest. Senator Palpatine voice, Anthony Edwards.
I mean,
he's got a real chance. I would love to see a conference finals, him versus Shea, with the next up belt on the line. Would be a lot of fun.
He's been the best player in the playoffs. Like, I mean, when you consider 2-way impact, when you consider, now he has an amazing supporting cast, so that's definitely part of it. But at the same time, when you consider lead shot creator, pretty much every single game. I remember last time we talked about Ant, like we did Ant versus SGA, and we said, who would you rather have? And we both said Ant.
Yep.
And then right afterwards, SGA had his best playoff game and Ant had his worst playoff game. But since that, I was like, oh no, we put the smell on him. Yeah. He's got the YKB curse on him. But since that, I mean, multiple 40-point games, incredible efficiency. And honestly, the defense has always been a little bit underrated from him. I think just as a 2-way player in general. But the biggest thing for me in this Ant run that has made the biggest difference, and part of the reason why I think I might have even underrated his potential ceiling as an all-time player, is that the playmaking is just way better. He's like a good passer now, like, and he demands so much attention from the defense that it just really opens shit up. And with the way that they've been shooting, I mean, it felt like last night felt like a real just like fucking just a shit show of bad things happening for the Nuggets. Like the Wolves could not miss in that game, but it just makes them so much deadlier when you have like such a two-way force like Ant. And we've always talked about the, you know, how it's easier to build around these two-way wings, but as he improves as a playmaker, as he improves as a defender, we already know the 3-level scoring's pretty fucking elite as it is. And yeah, he's been the best player in the playoffs. And I was so jealous of this take that someone sent me the other day, which was we're basically living in the world where if the Pistons in 03 drafted Wade instead of Darko, and I was like, that is a great fucking take. Like, elite defense, really good role players that make everything work and happen around him. And then just another level athletic guard doing all of this at 22 years old, right? Isn't he 22? I mean, he's just, he's fucking crazy. He's special, man. And he gets better in the playoffs every year. Third straight year of just being better.
Nate had a good stat earlier saying that, you know, Ant previous playoff appearances, 3 or 4 turnovers a game. Now 10 through 6 games. Not bad. Not bad. Like, you know, like, and that's, you know, especially when you've got a good defensive team too. I think that has quietly been a huge part of the success that Anthony Edwards is bringing here, is that by not turning the ball over, you let the best defense in the NBA get set. Like when you turn the ball over, it's a double-edged sword. You're like really hurting yourself because you're just giving away free points, which is like
this is why Jimmy Butler's a playoff monster. Like he doesn't turn the ball over, and then Miami can just rat ball their way to wins.
Yes. So it's a very similar thing. I do think, you know, we crown these guys too early a lot, and I understand why. It's a lot more fun to like in the moment be like, holy fuck, you know, like especially with, you know, we'll see how the playoffs unfold. I feel pretty good about his trajectory. I'm not poo-pooing it at all, but I just, you know, we got a ways to go. You know, this series isn't over yet. So
we're all prisoners at the moment. I saw someone say last night on Twitter, they said, we're never going to see another dynasty again. And then someone was like, can we just pump the brakes? Like, we literally just spent 2 years talking about how the Nuggets are the new Warriors.
Right.
And that this is, and we even said on the podcast all year, like, this is exactly how people talked about the Bucks 2 years ago. It's exactly the same thing. Giannis is the best player. No one can take the crown from them. You know, and then Middleton gets hurt. This year it's KCP and Jamal Murray, and you know, they're toughing it out. Credit to them, toughing it out, playing through injuries, but it's still going to affect your play on the court. And when you are built around this starting 5 that is just unstoppable when things are clicking, and you run into a really good opponent and you don't have that injury luck, like things happen. Like it's like shit happens, shit changes fast, and the Nuggets could still win this series. Like they could easily have a great game 3 and flip it on its head, but right now, you got to give the Wolves their credit. Even if the Nuggets won out from this point on, I'm just very impressed with the way that the Wolves have looked. And honestly, I do think that I don't think they figured out Denver. I just think that they have an edge. Like no one goes into Denver and wins multiple games in a series. I think this is the first time this has ever happened that I can remember. I mean, they haven't had a ton of playoff runs, obviously, because of the Jamal Murray injury, but Miami won 1 there last year, and I think they won every other game in Denver, if I remember correctly. And this path is really tough. This will be the 5th straight year, I believe, that this will be the 5th straight year that the defending NBA champion could potentially lose before the conference finals.
Yep.
Which KD Warrior shit like was the last time that we really saw just walking to the finals every single year. And even before KD, it was obviously the Steph, Draymond, Clay Warriors. And I just think that it's really, first off, this is the age of parity, and I don't want to overreact too much. It's not to say there's always corrections to this shit. 5 years from now, we could be talking about the Spurs nail a draft pick and Wemby leads them to a dynasty again. Like, things can change very fast in the NBA. I don't want to get, too ahead of ourselves here, but right now it does feels like this is good for the league. Feels like it's good that there is a different champion every other year. It feels like it's good that we're getting different finals matchups and conference finals matchups. And there are all these young teams. The old stars are out right now. Most of the best players in the league aren't even in these playoffs, and it's a really, really good product. The playoffs have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're still getting good playoff rivalries. Like we're getting Wolves Denver has been happening quite a bit. We've had Wolves Suns. We've had Nuggets Suns. We've had all of these different versions of this.
Oh, hold on, you missed one. The refs versus whoever the Knicks are playing.
Let's go.
Continue.
No, the Knicks. I've heard from New York fans that this is a conspiracy by the NBA. They don't want the small market. Nobody believes in us, New York Knicks, on national TV. That would be so bad for them.
Yeah, I saw comedian Sam Burrell's tweets.
Yes,
last night. These refs are awful. Totally agree, bud.
Yes,
it's the opposite way of what you are implying.
Everyone certainly agrees the refs are bad. Let's just leave it at that. I credit MSG a little bit because they have awesome crowds, and I wonder if it's just like refs are rattled like at MSG. Like there's too many celebs. They're too they're starstruck by.
Yeah, we should get Woody Allen courtside for the next game. I know he's a huge Knicks fan.
Wonder if he's been there, but they've been hiding him from the camera.
They don't show him.
Handing out
Ben Stiller on the screen again.
Yeah, don't they use AI to Photoshop him out? Like Megan Thee Stallion wasn't there. That was actually Woody Allen. You gotta put that in. I want to put out because I asked this on Twitter. And I went back at when is. In the last 4 years, basically going back to Toronto, I think is the last time that this happened. But starting with the bubble and going from there out, what's the best team an NBA champion has beaten in the playoffs since the bubble series?
Well, the Lakers' path wasn't easy that year, and everyone was healthier that year too. This is the thing, because of the bubble thing, there wasn't many injuries. The Lakers beat the Nuggets, who were pretty good. They beat the Rockets.
The Nuggets were not there yet, though.
I'm not saying that they were. Yeah. That's still a good team. I mean, they had Murray and Jokic were playing some of their best basketball of their careers in the bubble. That was really the year that Jokic and Murray both broke out together.
I think the Rockets were probably a stronger team that year than than Denver was.
In the regular season, a little bit, yeah. But by the bubble, the Nuggets were on another level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
They did have to come back from down 3-1 twice, which has never happened.
I think that I don't know. Here, what's 73 divided by 82? I don't know. 70. I'm trying to figure. I'm trying to calculate what the win total equivalent was that year. They won 46 games, which I don't know what that probably goes out to about 50 wins over the course of a full season. So they were about a 50-win team because everyone in the comments was bringing up that the Nuggets didn't beat a 50-win team last year in the playoffs, that is pretty staggering.
I mean,
happens.
It's very rare that an 8 seed ever gets to the NBA Finals. Is the thing.
Yes,
it was because you always eventually face someone in the finals that won 50 games.
I just think there was a lot of luck, but because they ended up with a Heat team too that was pretty overmatched, and that Heat team was pretty weak that the Lakers faced too. Goran Dragic got hurt, who was elite for them, and Bam got hurt in the finals too. My point here is that we're seeing a level of parity in the league where it really is the luckiest team that ends up winning a lot of these things. The Warriors, they beat the Celtics, who were a fully formed team, but a lot of their path, they had a Hospital Grizzlies team that they were up against. They had there was a lot of the Bucks. Everyone is well documented. All the
we've talked about that a lot.
The Bucks had. I just think that there is a lot. We're entering a year where it is all these teams are so close a lot of the time that the team that ends up winning the title is simply the one that has the easiest path. And I'm hoping that means my Boston Celtics will be winning
or just the best health luck. I mean,
yeah,
the easy path is only easy now because we know what happened. Like the Bucks playing the Nuggets, the Bucks playing the Nets that year, it looked like a death sentence for them. Because the Nets just fucking ate the Celtics in the first round. And then to credit the Bucks, who also smoked the Heat in the first round. But after Harden got hurt in game 2, we were like, ooh, the Bucks are in trouble here. Yeah. So it's easy to say that now, but it's a lot of it just comes to, and part of the thing that I've been thinking is part of it is parity. I think the fact that we have more just general, I wouldn't even say upsets, but just like rounds where they get pushed to 6 or 7 when they might not, like the Celtics have kind of had, that's kind of been like their specialty before this year, where it's like, damn, we should have won that series in 4. And then the Hawks pushed us to 6 somehow. And that just puts more wear and tear on your body when you're playing playoff minutes. And also someone sprains an ankle in a game they shouldn't have even been playing. It can, hurt you in the long term. So yeah, I mean, obviously the best way to go about this is just to hope to get the easiest opponents and hope to get the least amount of games to put the wear and tear on your body, and also not potentially get an injury that could devastate your chances. But having said that, you guys beat the Heat in 5 and Porzingis got hurt anyway. And like that was game 4, right? And that probably would have happened anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's mostly luck.
It's mostly luck. Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, like Porzingis, it might actually be good for the Celtics because Porzingis is back. It is probably a pretty good thing that happened then. I'm not trying to curse the Celtics too much here, but like this Cleveland matchup should be a pretty a pretty quick affair. This should be the one you don't need Porzingis for. So
do you hear that? That's Dean Wade. That's Dean Wade. He was at shoot around today.
Dean Wade, dude. If Dean Wade cooks,
counting season is over, bitch.
So if Dean Wade cooks the Celtics tonight, you guys can go ahead and write to the Patreon to be Trill's.
I don't think he's playing. I don't even know if he's going to play the series.
If that happens, you can donate to my in memoriam that we'll have on the next podcast. We can try to
all the Patreon money will go to Sam's funeral.
Yeah, all the Patreon money for 1 month will go to my funeral. And you can get someone. We'll get someone else on here. Will can be a full-time co-host.
Let's go.
And we'll, I'm promoting this. I'm naming Will my YKB spot in my Will.
Well, Will can't even get on me for making fun of the Jokic people because he's the one of the ringleaders, because he told me in the preseason that the Timberwolves actually sucked and that I was wrong. So take that, Will.
He said the second round was going to be generationally bad, and he might be right, but not the way that he thought. Yeah,
just for the other way.
Right? Yeah. We'll pick Nuggets in 5, sadly, but look, I mean, we all have one that we get wrong. I haven't been. We've actually been pretty good this postseason. The only thing that was way off was your Suns pick, and you immediately after game 1 changed like
I was like, can I get him one mulligan? Because I see where this is going. I was like, they're gonna kick the shit out of them. Like it reminded me a little bit. I mean, it is funny because they're both KD teams, and the comp that we made for this Wolves team was the 2022 Celtics.
Yep.
Which is round 1. Mm-hmm. You get a KD team that is kind of top heavy and a little bit older.
Yep.
And then you get a defending champion in the second round with some injury problems.
Yeah.
And it's playing out the way that we thought, really. But I regret overvaluing the Suns thing too much. And honestly, I regret undervaluing the Wolves' chances in this series. I think I said it was going to be Nuggets in 7, maybe Nuggets in 6. Mm-hmm. But job's not finished. They still got to go out there and win. Yep. And once they get the job done, we could be talking all this shit and Jokic could score 55 points in the
Yeah,
next game, and then all of a sudden
I want to be careful. I'm like very hyper aware of that.
Yes,
that's why I don't want to take my victory lap, because
what if the Miami Heat won a championship with the best player? like we were afraid of the zombie Heat. This is like next level shit. We should be very careful with the way that we have been talking about this.
But I am very excited to do victory lap Bill, because I've been very annoyed about him sucking off Drew Holiday and shitting on Marcus Smart all year. So his baby boy Jokic getting owned would be very funny to me, and I would enjoy that quite a bit. No podcast today from Bill, by the way. I just want to point that out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay, so
KOC. Yeah, I'm waiting for the KOC tweet. God, a wolf sweep would feed families for the cope it would produce at the Ringer. I'll say that.
Do we want to talk about the Pacers-Knicks game 1? I mean, I think the Pacers needed to steal that game. Like, I'm
going to be honest. I only watched the first half, and it looked pretty normal. Like to me, it looked like a pretty normal. I caught up that there was some ref chicanery at the end there.
You missed the greatest rigging. Honestly, it's funny because I was like, I'm not going to bitch about refs during the Sixers-Knicks series. Yeah. Shit happens. Just figure out a way to win. I don't care.
The second the series is over.
I'm like, the Pacers are getting fucked. This is bullshit. I literally was like losing my mind watching that game last night, dude. I was like, this is wild. Yeah, I mean, the Pacers got fucked. And that felt like a game that I think the fact that the Pacers can really run is just a complete opposite stylistic flip from the Sixers. Yes. They're used to a team that is a little bit slower, more plodding, really likes to set up in the half court, doesn't run a ton. And even when they do run, it's a lot of Tobias Harris smoked layups and, just absolute record scratch moments. And this Pacers team is... This is the thing I just want to get out of the way about Sixers fans last night. I said this in the Discord before it happened, and I said, I'm losing my mind watching Sixers fans talk about this Pacers team as if it's so much better than the Sixers when I'm about to watch them lose the same exact way to the Knicks that the Sixers did all series. They were winning for the majority of that series. Like, they were winning in the third quarter almost every game. It was the end of games, these rallies from the Knicks, these, they hit every fucking momentum three. I don't know what it is. Like, it's
Josh Hart's a demon.
Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo could miss every shot, and then if there's a momentum three, they will make it. It drives me fucking nuts. But either way, the Pacers were lucky to have been in that game with how bad Tyrese Halliburton was, to be honest with you. It was, and I think in the first round when they played the Bucks, they got a little bit of an easy matchup, obviously, with Giannis and Dame dealing with their injuries in the first round, and outside of the Chris Middleton game going hero mode, the Bucks just didn't have consistent offensive production from anyone in that series. And the thing about the Pacers is that I do think that Halliburton, even if the scoring isn't there, he's generally going to make the right play. And last night was the first time where it was like fourth quarter of a close playoff game. He was either indecisive, not making the right play, or unable to create his own offense. And I don't know if it's the injury or if this is just part of his game, but the reality is that they're going to need him to not get outplayed by TJ McConnell. like TJ was awesome last night. You can't expect that from TJ every single game. Obi Toppin was awesome last night. You can't expect that.
Revenge game.
Yeah, a revenge game at Madison Square Garden. But if Halliburton is playing as passive as he was and is not looking to be aggressive as a scorer when they're going to play him as a passer and a playmaker, it's going to be a long series. But then again, look, they should have fucking won that game. Like, I don't think that they deserve to win it with the way that Halliburton played, but at the end of the day, you got to give them credit for being in the game until the fourth quarter. And I did think that they got fucking jobbed. Like, I thought they never called that moving screen that they called. There was a play just prior to this where it was obviously not a kickball. They called it a kickball, and because you can't, they called it a kickball, you can't review it. It's like it was insane. The they lost. The Knicks never lose challenges. Somehow they win every single challenge. Jalen Brunson threw his whole body into Miles Turner, and they called it marginal contact. Like I genuinely am like I'm starting to like bring the tinfoil hat back shit. Like I'm losing my mind watching this.
They want a Boston New York rivalry so bad, and it's not going to happen because the Knicks are little brother. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and put the I'm gonna go ahead and put the evil. I'm gonna tempt the gods here. Say the Knicks and the Celtics. The Knicks are the I feel bad for you, and we are the I don't think about you at all. So the NBA wants this to happen. I would tell the NBA, be careful what you wish for, because even if you put the refs in this series, you're going to get a 5-game series that nobody's going to enjoy, of the Celtics euthanizing this small group of super friends. They're going to be on Reddit giving each other Reddit gold for their awesome memes going home after this series. But anyway, we're focused on Cleveland right now.
Josh Hart, after the game, when they asked him, is there anything what did he say? Is there anything that gets to you or something? Or is there anything that bothers you? Yep. And he was like, yeah, arguing with my wife.
Oh my God. Chance the Rapper posting in 2024?
Anything that makes you tired was the...
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, they're still going office mode. They're still going cringe millennial, but
they need to, like, if they want to like ever win a championship, they've got to invite in like some of the like horrible Dime Square people, like bring like Dasha and Anna from Red Scare in to just be like mean to them about how like cringe they are. Call them fat, even though they have like a BMI of.
Well, we need that. We need the Celtics. The Celtics Knicks Eastern Conference Finals, so we can get the Red Scare girl sitting courtside with Dershowitz
and Portnoy.
Oh, Portnoy too.
Yeah.
Just the opposite. Not the super friends, the super villains.
Yeah, exactly. We really do have like a truly like our famous fans fucking suck, man. We have like a Batman villainy crew. When I saw Portnoy behind the announcers, that was the game that Porzingis got hurt. I said that's it. Something terrible is going to happen in that game, and then that's what happened. So.
Don't worry about it. You got you'll have Louis C.K. sitting courtside at the finals.
Yeah, we're gonna get a couple more.
Mitt Romney. I'm just like thinking of all the
BB Netanyahu, fresh off his ICC appearances.
Oh God, we don't bring him up on the podcast anymore. We don't associate with him.
Yeah, Philadelphia. Yeah. Look, I'm trying to think of who else with villains. Drake. We're getting Drake.
Drake's switching from the Raptors.
Yeah, he's a bandwagon. You know how he does that? He kind of bandwagons for whatever team.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I do feel like if Drake were to pick a fan base to jump onto now that the Raptors are out this year, it would be the Wolves probably. Yeah,
probably.
Just because Anthony Edwards is really cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, it would be the Thunder. Shea.
Yeah, Shea.
Canada. Nikhil Alexander-Walker's also from Canada.
Oh, there's another person on OKC that they would have they'd have a lot to talk about.
Oh, damn. I didn't see it coming. God damn. What?
Oh, that's not. I'm just kidding. They're gonna have a great time with Drake going to Suns games to visit that guy is gonna be awesome next year.
Let's go.
Stay woke.
Well, no, he can't go to Suns games because him and Devin Booker share the same ex. So, fortunately. Oh wait, no. Yeah, no. I think they share the same.
Do they?
Maybe I made that up.
Okay.
Maybe it's the other Jenner that was rumored to be with. I don't know.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Pop culture references.
Yeah, we need a correspondent to keep track of the messy shade room rumors. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. We need someone to come on and spill tea.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, but we have two series starting tonight.
All right, two series starting tonight. Oh yeah, by the way, I think the Knicks are going to win that series.
Yes.
I think it's pretty obvious it's going to be Knicks Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. And that, as Chiodo said, he posted the hold up, let him cook, because the MSG whistle in the Celtics Knicks series might at least make it go a little bit longer, is all I'm saying.
Maybe.
I'm telling you, they have the devil magic. Like
Sure.
I really think you shouldn't sleep on them, because not only is it that shit, but also Isaiah Hartenstein hit almost a full court shot at the end of the second quarter last night that ended up mattering a lot at the end of the game. Like, they have some fucking powerful devil magic between Josh Hart getting randomly hot, just fucking Hartenstein full court shots. Brunson is like fucking somehow prime KD in the mid range. It's a special mix of devil magic. If Tibbs doesn't, grind their knees to a paste, I think they'll have a puncher's chance in a Celtics series if Porzingis doesn't play.
I don't know. Look, the Celtics always have doo-doo mode, and we've talked about how, the rebounding, the devil magic aspect. It's why the Celtics were so uniquely vulnerable to the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Knicks are going to have the coverages that the Miami Heat have. Like for some of this stuff, I just don't think. Hartenstein and Robinson are great. They can't cover the same amount of ground that Bam can cover, and like that's really what fucks up the Celtics a lot. They have all of these wings. They can always do this if the 3-point shooting is. I just don't think the Celtics defeat themselves too, and I don't think the Knicks yet. Maybe this is a series where that's planted. The Knicks don't have the necessary headspace in the Celtics the way that the Heat do. Like the Celtics see ghosts against the Heat, with the exception of Derek White, who is just chilling. the only guy who's not worried about it. But like,
yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, the Knicks reporters pointed this out last night, but Brunson was really happy not to see Kelly Oubre and Nick Batum on the other side, because even though he was awesome in that series at the end of it, he was incredibly inefficient, and he had to work for every shot that he took. Whereas when he looks at the Pacers, he just sees food. Like it's like there isn't even a defender there for him. And the Celtics will be able to throw a lot. I mean, they have two of the best guard defenders in the league. They can throw wings on him. They have everything that you need to completely cut the head of the snake off of this Knicks offense. And if that is the case, then it's going to be really hard for the Knicks to score. But they still got to beat the Pacers, and the Celtics got to beat the Cavs. Man, I don't think the Cavs are going to win. I mean, I think at a max they're pushing this to 6. Yeah. But I do think we'll get a random Donovan Mitchell game like he had at the end of that Magic series, where it was just like, this guy can't fucking miss. And at the end of the day, the Celtics will win the series, but I don't think it's going to be quite as much of a pushover as people think. And I don't think the Pacers are going to be pushovers for the Knicks. They should have won last night. I mean, that probably ends in 5 or 6, but they'll be competitive games at a minimum.
I'm going to predict this. I agree with you that I think the Cavs might win 1 or 2. I don't think the Donovan Mitchell game is going to be the one that they win. I think there's going to be a Donovan Mitchell game where he scores like 56 in a valiant losing effort. He has no help. And the game the Cavs are going to win is like a Max Strus 5 for 5 from 3 game. That's the one that the Cavs are going to win. So yeah, Karis LeVert. Yeah, the Karis LeVert.
Oh,
game.
right, of course.
Yeah, those are the games that the Cavs are going to win. It's not going to be the big Donovan Mitchell games, because Donovan Mitchell's big games are losers. He's 4 for 8 in the playoffs. His 12 highest scoring performances.
Well, is that when he scores 40 or more?
I think it's 37 is 12.
Well, they just won the last one. He scored 39. So I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. All right. So now that's okay. He's up to.
He was much better the game before that, though, I will say. I think that was his best playoff game I've seen outside of the bubble, I would say. I mean, he had 50 points on 22 of 36 from the field. It was like, and no one was helping. It's exactly what you described. No one was helping him. And The return of Allen is both good and bad for the Cavs. Like,
keep talking. I'm screen capping Kevin's comment to DM to him later. So I just gotta put this
for
together.
anyone who's listening on audio, it says it's going to be cinema when Donovan goes head to head with Tatum and beats the Celtics by himself, and Sam is in piss and shit. There is a world where Donovan Mitchell could be the best player in this series, and it doesn't matter at all because the rest of the Celtics are just so much better. And also,
that's why I think the Celtics are going to win the title. That thesis statement, like, you know,
and
like,
that's the thing is that if a team like Minnesota gets there, it might change the calculus a little bit, because that's probably the only team that can apply real ball pressure to the Celtics in a meaningful way, like in a way that like reactivates some of the issues that the Celtics have had in the past in terms of Jaylen Brown turning the ball over, Drew going doo-doo mode like he has in the past. But even if that is the case, if Porzingis is back, you have multiple different release valves in your offense that you can kind of throw into the mix. And that might be a case where it's just like, if it's Wolves Celtics in the finals, Anthony Edwards is just that dude, like he has been all playoffs, and you know
that's going to be dangerous. That'll be dangerous, you know, because the Celtics. I can tell you what Joe Mazzulla he's gonna look at that Warriors defense and he's gonna say we're gonna shoot 43s a game, like, and it's gonna come down to if those go in or not. So, you know, we'll see. I don't want to get
Rudy Gobert teams. That's been obviously their perimeter defense wasn't quite as good as this. This is way, way better than the perimeter defense that they've ever had in Utah. But in the past, they have gotten shooting variance out of series.
Yeah. I'm interested to see. I don't think Celtics Cavs are going to be. I feel bad being like this dismissive because I generally like Cavs fans. I have a lot of friends who are Cavs fans, and they've been heartened by beating the Magic, which is fine. But
they're lucky they beat the Magic, because the Magic, that was a house money series for them, and all the pressure was on the Cavs to win that series.
Yeah. I think, I think, and that'll be flipped here, you know, like nobody expects the Cavs to do it. Everyone expects the Cavs to get euthanized in the series, sure, including me. But, you know, like, look.
Probably including the Cavs. Let's be real. Deep down. Now, they might be saying in interviews, you know, we can beat anyone, we can do this. But deep down, I think they know that this is a very tall task.
Donovan Mitchell this is a tryout. This is a showcase for Donovan Mitchell, McDonald's All-America game for Donovan Mitchell for, you know, what next team that he's
for when the Heat trade Jimmy Butler and then.
Yeah. Or whoever.
Because that was something that I've been saying.
Yeah. Credit to you.
Been saying it. I mean, I did, to be fair. I did hear it in January that I can tell you exactly what I heard now, because I think I've only said this on Patreon episodes, but what I can tell you is that I heard that Jimmy Butler and the Heat were not on the best of terms due to the fact that he was load managing a lot. Like that was what it came down to. And they were like, you know, this is the third straight season. You're up for an extension this offseason. We're in the play-in again. And you not playing, you know, because of whatever knee issue that you have, and consistently taking off nights, whether you're playing or not playing, it has been an issue for, you know, what we don't want to be in the play-in. Like it's kind of like it is a bit of oil and water in terms of if your whole culture thing is like, we play hard, we go hard every night, and then your best player is missing 25, 30 games a year with half the time it says injury management on there, I can understand why they would be a little bit frustrated with him. Having said that, a lot of their relevance has been Spo and Jimmy Merchants over the last few years. And I think they're testing fate a little bit with Pat Riley coming out and basically saying that he wants Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero dead for fucking missing games when, like, come on, dude. Like, he went full boomer in that press conference. I respect it. I respect that he just fucking set shit to fire. But I'm like, you gotta be, come on. You have not done a very good job building this team, if I'm being completely honest. I think that Spo and Jimmy and Bam have maximized a lot of what this roster is and covered up the flaws of this front office, to be honest with you.
I think honestly, I put a lot of the credit on Spo. I know the Celtics destroyed the Heat without Jimmy. They were honestly they acquitted themselves in most of that series. They were just fucking overmatched. Like if this Celtics team had played like that last year, they beat that last year's Heat squad in like 4. Like it's, you know, I don't know. I think it's an interesting case study to see if Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler was made in the bubble. There was a lot of myth making, and he was awesome in the bubble. I don't want to take away from that. Quietly, Jimmy Butler ever since then has been like pretty normal. He's been like a pretty normal average.
He was great in the Bucks series.
The first round one where Giannis got hurt. Just saying.
Giannis played the last 2 games, and Jimmy was awesome.
Yeah, okay. I get it. Sure.
He never tried to guard Jimmy. I'm not saying that is the best defensive strategy. I actually understand why he doesn't guard the best player on the other team.
Yeah,
but
because he's a steals merchant. Yeah. I'm very excited to see Jimmy Butler have to go play in Cleveland or wherever next year. Let's see, Jimmy. Prove me wrong. I think you're a fraud and a Spo merchant, so prove me wrong.
I'm not defending Jimmy Butler until he puts on a Philadelphia 76ers jersey again, to be honest with you.
The podcast is going to be rough next year when he's on the Sixers.
It is. It's going to be really tough. It's going to be really tough if we trade for him. I said I can see it coming from a mile away that Sam's going to say Jimmy Butler will nuke the team because he'll be the 3rd best player on the team. So not only is he not getting attention for being the best player on the team, but if things go sideways and he's the 3rd best player on the team, my God, that locker room has potential to really explode. But here's my thing. I could talk myself into Adolf Hitler coming off the bench for the Philadelphia 76ers. Come on. Yeah. And in this case, I will. So
now who's got to clip what?
So someone said Tobias or Hitler. No comment. So anyway, all right. Jimmy, obviously the marriage with the Heat is done. Whether it's now or next offseason or whatever, it seems pretty obvious to me they ain't going to pay him. They're not maxing him the money that he wants, that he always re-ups. And that's why when I first heard these rumors back in like January or February, and I said them in the Discord, I believe them because every 2 years, Jimmy re-ups his contract and he gets his money. He's smart to do it. He's smart to get his money as he gets into his mid-30s, as he plays a little bit less, as he declines athletically. It is smart to lock up your money. And Miami is finally saying, you know what? We want to pivot. We want to build around Bam, and we want to build around this younger core that we have. So how can we acquire a player that fits better and will play more games than Jimmy Butler moving forward? And I've been saying I think it's going to be something like Jimmy Butler to a team, assets going to the Cavs or the Hawks or whoever is willing to send star, whatever, maybe the Pelicans if they want to trade Brandon Ingram, to the, and then that player goes to the Miami Heat. So if it's Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, who knows? Someone's going to become available this offseason that's a little bit younger, that fits with Bam's timeline a little bit better. And they'll probably make a trade for that player. And, you know, knowing the Heat, it will probably work out great for them. And that player will either become, you know, Brandon Ingram will make all-star games again, or Donovan Mitchell will become an MVP candidate.
Trae on the Heat is hurting my soul, man. Like, fuck, that would be
ultra rat mode because he looks like a rat.
Yes. Riffs man calls him the stinky cheese man. And they can't put the stinky cheese man on the fucking thing. Oh God, that was. But Trae Bam pick and roll, like, I don't know. You give Bam the space. They have real guys now. Like this Heat team, that whatever star is going to be stepping into is a better version of the Heat than anything Jimmy had to work with.
Yeah,
I think. I was really impressed.
Roster wise, I agree.
Yeah, Jaquez and Jovic were real guys that series. Bam's Bam kind of acquitted himself pretty well. He did not fucking miss a goddamn 16-footer. Like, it didn't matter, but like, he was fucking awesome in that series, except when he tried to hurt Jason Tatum. Like they just have a lot of, even like Duncan Robinson, is a good guy. And, I think they have Terry Rozier. We'll see, when he comes back, how that goes. But I think when they trade Tyler Hero or Jimmy for, this star this offseason, I think the Heat are probably going to be back. I think they'll be like a 4 or 5 seed next year, depending on what caliber of star they get. So
the question for me is, can you hold on to the Jovic's, the Hawkeses, those guys in this trade? Because look, Jimmy's going to have value around the league. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's also burned a lot of bridges. And it has also probably has a specific destination in mind that he wants to go to.
New York.
And there will probably be 3 or 4 teams. Well, here's the thing. The clip that I played on the Patreon episode that we did last time that made you look like your soul was leaving your body. You were so angry at it because he was trying to troll and he was not playing. And Riley said, if you're not playing, shut the fuck up, basically.
Yeah. Boomer.
He said, Tibbs, you want me, I don't want you. I thought it was originally going to be the Knicks. I thought that marriage made perfect sense. But with the Knicks playing as well as they are right now, I think that it's possible. And the Brunson-Jimmy fit is a bit redundant, I would say, just because like they're kind of similar players in terms of where they like to operate on the court, how the offense flows around them, even though they're massively different in size. But my thing is like I said, I don't think there are a few teams that will not be interested in trading for Jimmy at all. And I do think that if he became available, Daryl Morey would be one of the few GMs that would put real value on the table. He's been chasing Jimmy his whole career. Jimmy has a relationship with Joel. And if he was open to extending him, I think Jimmy might be open to the idea of reuniting, just based on the fact that there's 2 parts to this. One, Bernie Lee, his agent, basically put out there that this narrative that the Heat are pushing is bullshit and that Jimmy was genuinely hurt this year and that's why he didn't play. 2, the fact is that Barry Jackson, who is basically the Heat propaganda mouthpiece, has said on his Twitter that in Morey's press conference after the season, he said they're looking for Paul George, he didn't say these players specifically, but Paul George, Jimmy Butler level wings that can play in the playoffs. And
defensive player of the year, by the way.
That was obvious. All these awards are washed. We knew all these guys who they were going to win.
Yeah.
But another thing on Rudy's Hall of Fame thing, though, he's definitely making the Hall of Fame now.
Ant officially has more help than Tatum now. More accolades.
Jesus Christ.
And Ant has a super.
I'm not paying you this month anyway.
Calling my union rep, Parm. I need you to get in there.
But yeah, so
6 man of the year, defensive player of the year. What man? Ant is.
Why can't I mute your mic? Fuck.
Yes.
So anyway, so Barry Jackson basically tweeted yesterday and said the top 2 stories on ESPN about the Sixers the last few days is they want a wing and they want a guy who could play in the playoffs. And Barry Jackson, of course, took the leap to say, well, who's been the better playoff performer between Paul George and Jimmy Butler? The obvious answer is Jimmy Butler, even if some of that stuff is a little bit overrated. My big fear as a Sixers fan, and just from the outside perspective of this, is that they're going to have to end up overpaying for Jimmy Butler. And Daryl generally doesn't overpay in trades. But if it is for a star that his star likes and wants, and a guy that he's always coveted his whole career, he might be willing to overpay a little bit.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then my fear is that they have to trade 3 of their remaining 5 first-round picks they can trade to the Heat so that they can send it to another team for a star. And then they have to max him on top of that. And Jimmy is just not – it's a very hard needle to thread with Jimmy's knee injury and Joel's knee injury and their age and availability concerns when it comes to the playoffs, what are the odds both of these guys are healthy? Even when they make these runs, Jimmy is usually out for a game or two. Joel's always missing time around the playoffs. He's pushed through it this year, but the majority of his years, he's not available for the playoffs. And it's a really hard needle to thread when, if you went the Paul George route, which still is apparently their number one thing if he wants to come here, you can get depth along with him because you can trade your picks and use your space or guarantee Paul Reed's contract to acquire other role players that will make Paul George missing time a little bit more easy to stomach. Because if you trade for Jimmy Butler, you have to hit every veteran's minimum signing. You have to hope that Batum and Lowry want to come back for smaller deals and Oubre too. And then on top of that, you also have to hit on draft picks or find guys on, UDFAs like they did with Ricky Council last year, because you're really making the team thin. And I just think there's a chance I would welcome Jimmy back just because I think he's still a really good player and he fits kind of exactly what the Sixers need between Maxey and Embiid. But it is really hard when you're considering the fact that the bottom could really fall out with this. Like, Joel and Jimmy miss a month each, and then it's Maxey and a bunch of fucking scrubs, and you're potentially falling into the play-in like you did this year. So That's it. That's my whole take on it. I would be fine with it, but there's definitely some concerns, and and everyone keeps saying, "Oh, Jimmy can't shoot." I don't really care about that. Joel will shoot more if Jimmy comes back, and Joel needs to shoot more anyway. Take some fucking strain off your body. Become more of a 3-point shooter, and Maxey's ability to space the floor and run all around makes it so that I think you could play one guy that isn't a shooter.
And Daryl would build it. Daryl has Tobias coming off the books gives Daryl a lot more wiggle room for, they wouldn't have like a ton of cap space, but Daryl would have like wiggle room to like fill
a
out
little bit. Paul George
more.
And Jimmy Butler are basically the same cap hit, but you get Paul George for free, so you can use your picks on other guys.
Is Jimmy Butler that high? I thought Jimmy Butler's would come in like kind of under what you would have to give Paul George, just because it's not. You would pay more in the long run, I think, just because it's you'd have to extend him off of his current contract, but
sure. I'll pull up his contract right now.
Next
year, he makes, so next year, 2024, 2025, he makes $48.7 million.
That's kind of cheap. That's kind of cheap for a max guy. Like
it's almost the same as the first year of Paul George's contract, though.
Is that true? Oh, I guess because it's not bird rights. That's right. Never mind. I forgot about that.
It's almost about the same. But like I said, the difference is that you have to give up value to get Jimmy. And you get Paul George for free, which is why I would still prefer the Paul George and depth route potential, because you have to nail every single move if you trade for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
And Jimmy's the better player when healthy. And I think that honestly, the fit with him and Maxey and Embiid is good.
Just what you said though. I mean, we saw Maxey's awesome. He can't buoy the team in the regular season. And that would be my concern. When, because I think Embiid is probably going to miss some time and Jimmy is going to miss some time. And that's just, you leave yourself open to exactly what happened this year, where your team is pretty good, but you just end up with a dog shit matchup because you were hurt, So
yeah. And I think we're seeing the importance of that now. Like, look, we can talk about the regular season not mattering all we want. Yeah. There still has not been a team that wasn't a top 3 team in the regular season to win the NBA finals since the Hakeem Rockets in the 90s. Yeah. And they were coming off a title and got Clyde Drexler at the deadline. Like, history says, yes, if you want to make a conference finals run, if you want to make it to the final, sure. History still says if you want to win the championship, you have to be a top 3 or 4 seed, really top 3 seed. The Warriors and the recent Bucks team were the exception to this rule that you weren't a top 2 seed even. Yeah. So I'm just saying, we need to care a little bit more about the regular season is all I'm saying. I think that, like you said, getting these Mickey Mouse layup matchups is important if you want to make a long run, especially if you have a player, if your best player is Joel Embiid and you want to play as little playoff games as possible.
Yeah.
It's probably better to care a little bit about the regular season and value depth in the regular season, which is why Paul George is number one for me, but I would be fine with Jimmy Butler or another player in his realm if the price was right. But I don't want to end up being stuck overpaying for this guy.
It'd be really nice to get like a Hawks or Bulls series or something, like if Joel's hurt, if you're the 2 seed coming in and like Joel's hurt and you end up with like one of these teams coming out of the play-in, like it helps you a lot. So we will see, like that's my new thing. That's my new like Celtics propaganda is actually it's not a Mickey Mouse path because they were the 1 seed and you're supposed to have an easy seed when you're the 1 seed. But now I can't do that because of the Thunder, because then I have to say the same thing for the Thunder, and I can't call them Mickey Mouse. So,
well, I do think that I think it was HP Basketball was saying that the Nuggets really fucked themselves chasing the 1 seed, and it was like, did they? Because if they got the 1 seed, I feel like they would feel a lot better about it right now.
They would be cooking. They wouldn't have lost a game yet.
Yeah, right. They would have played the Pelicans without Zion in the first round. And then the Dallas matchup, look, I haven't loved the Dallas matchup for them, but knowing what we know now with the Wolves and how tough this matchup is for them, they would have been way better off playing Dallas in the second round.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially where it looks like Luka, something's up with Luka, it kind of seems like. So,
yeah. Ben brings up a good point. Devontae Graham ended a potential dynasty because he just went off in that game, the second to last game of the season, right? Against the Spurs. The Spurs pull it out. Devontae Graham can't miss. Game 81, they lose that game, and it flips. It literally changed the trajectory of what we're seeing in these playoffs. Wow. Shout out to worst contract draft alum, Devontae Graham.
He owned us.
The league is just fucking insanely talented, man. Devontae Graham sucks, and he upended the fucking season for a team that won the championship last year.
We need expansion so bad, man. Like there really are like even like it's really rare that there's like true shitters. You know what I'm saying? I spent my whole thing being like, Peyton Pritchard's like okay, but like goddamn, we really can't get it. Watching Peyton Pritchard kind of cook in this playoffs. I'm like, fuck, everyone can kind of play, man. Like
Buddy Hield was the worst player in the Sixers series for the first 2 games and then almost saved their season in game 6.
Yeah.
Like it's wild how talented the league is, even if, I think that, like we said, look, I don't think there's one model that you can build your team. I think that's the thing that I've been trying to take from these last few playoffs is like, don't overreact and say we have to do that. There isn't one, and Chiodo pointed this out to me too. There isn't a KD Warriors team like the way that Morey built the Rockets,
right?
Was to take down the KD Warriors. There isn't a there isn't a LeBron, Heatles, Wade style team that you need to build the vision to take down that team.
Right.
There are very good teams. Like the Celtics are great. The Wolves are really good. A lot of these teams are just really talented and good, but you should just kind of do your own thing. Like I think all of these teams just did their own thing and they were like, let's just try to acquire talent. And like I said, part of it is luck. Part of it is just buying low at the right time on guys like the Celtics did with Porzingis and the way that the Wolves were able to get Naz Reid on that decent contract. And they got on the fringes. They got Nickeil Alexander-Walker in, and the Knicks just constantly hit low on these guys' values, giving Dante DiVincenzo the contract he did, giving Cam Reddish and a bad first-round pick for Josh Hart, like Brunson, the contract that he did, like Hartenstein, like part of it is good scouting, part of it is just luck and opportunity and taking advantage of these opportunities. And it's part of the reason why I think that just looking from the Sixers perspective is like it is a little bit tough to team build when you're like, all right, we can be patient with our team build when your best player's knee is fucking falling off his body and he's 30 years old now. So it's a little bit different, but I would still just be a little bit cautious in my approach and just like there is no one style to do it. And I think that we need to kind of think about how all these teams were built wildly differently.
Yeah. 30 is not the same anymore either. You know what I'm saying? Like,
true,
unless it's something like Lonzo Ball, you know what I'm saying? Guys aren't like really hitting that like cliff until like 35, like even as bad as Dame was this year, he's still like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Dame come back and be like better.
He's still a top 30 player in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, like so. Joel, I think to the team building point, I think what's important about team building is building a team that fits around your best players and augments them. And that's why it can't be a one size fits all thing. Like if you put Aaron Gordon on the Boston Celtics, he would be good, but he would just be kind of redundant with like what they need. You put him with Jokic as a, rim protecting power forward who can pass and supplement a lot of
this. Then he could be a scapegoat.
Valuable. Yeah, there we go. There we go. I mean, I just think that is, so that's like the vision for team building. The problem with that is you have to identify your star player. And I think that's the problem for teams like the Pacers is I don't think like Tyrese Halliburton is like a star player. I think he's like a second player. I don't think they have their guy like that yet. And I don't think it's
I was comparing him to fucking Chris Paul and he's looking more like Andre Miller.
Yeah, jeez. I don't know. I'm telling myself I want a victory lap on Halliburton, but like also like he's probably hurt. Like he just looks so different than he did at the beginning of the year. Like
he's not quite as I do think he doesn't trust his body right now.
Yeah.
And I think dude, a lot of this shit is most guys are banged up though. Is like like it's very rare that you honestly the Karl Anthony Towns thing that is happening right now is what I wanted for Joel before he re-injured his knee twice when he came back. It was like Karl Anthony Towns had the same surgery as him and he came back looking fine, but it's sometimes, and maybe the Celtics will get this luck with Porzingis, where it's sometimes a little bit better to get the injury out of the way. And like, that this guy's going to get hurt anyway. It's better to have him happen in January than it is to happen in May or whenever it happens. But also, once again, all of this shit is just random and luck. And, the Halliburton thing, he clearly hasn't been the same. But I also think that he shot at a level in the beginning of the season, especially during that in-season tournament, where it was just like, even though he's a great shooter, he shot at a level that was like, okay, this is like a new Steph just dropped. Like if this is sustainable, he's a Hall of Famer. If it's not, then he's probably a really good player that, still has some flaws and some faults, and they're under a microscope when he's going up against an athletic Knicks team that can kind of get into him. The burst just doesn't look there. His ability to create separation was already a bit of an issue in his game, and I thought was going to be under the microscope when we got to the playoffs. But now it's like it's very obviously a big weakness in his game. And but yeah, no, I honestly think I think that he needs to be more aggressive as a scorer as we move into these next few, if he has the ability to do it, because that's going to open up everything for them. The one thing about the Pacers, and the one thing I will take from these playoffs, is that all the teams that are remaining, even though the Nuggets look like shit through 2 games, I still believe this about them. Almost all these teams just play really well as together. Like the Pacers are better than their talent because they play well together. The Knicks are better than their talent because they play. Those guys have a history of playing together. The continuity aspect of it. Minnesota plays really great team defense and just really connected. The Celtics play really well together. Basically, honestly, every team. What's that?
I think
the thing with the Mavericks is that they're the last team that's left that's kind of like let the stars cook and everything revolves around them, as opposed to the connectedness.
Cleveland's kind of like that.
Yeah, Cleveland's kind of like that too. But I think that anyone that was going to come out of the Magic Cleveland matchup was probably going to be,
I do think that this Mavericks team is like less heliocentric. You know what I'm saying? I get that, like, it's just 2 guys cooking instead of 1 now, but like other guys
the ball movement's good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's not like it's just Kyrie isolating every time down the court.
Yeah,
like they're doing some stuff. So yeah,
exactly. Mm-hmm. All right, so before we get out of here, Celtics game starts in like 15-20 minutes, so I'll let you watch that. I won't be watching it unless Donovan Mitchell's cooking. Actually, you know what? I will watch it. I need to be there in support of Donovan Mitchell, and he needs to beat the allegations and destroy you personally.
Yeah.
But I
hope
do.
you're ready for him to score 51 points and lose, buddy.
Let's go.
Yep.
Whatever. I'm leaving here with something, dude. I need agenda points. That's what this is all about.
Okay.
Maxey lost game 2, but I still left with some agenda points in my pocket.
Drew Holiday, meet me at the camera. I have been very rude to you all year. You can save yourself in my eyes by holding the fraud Donovan Mitchell to under 15 points tonight. Do what you have to do.
We'll see. If he was able to do what he did against the Magic defense, I think that he'll have a pretty good series. At the end, at least. I know that he struggled in the middle of the series, but okay. So last thing here that I want to talk about: Hornets offseason. I know we've been running through. If you missed the last episode, you can go on the Patreon, and we talked about the Wizards offseason. We talked about the Pistons offseason on the episode before that. So the Hornets are in an interesting position right now.
Sure.
Because they made some moves that I really liked at the deadline. They got a great pick from the Mavericks. They also got Grant Williams in that trade for PJ Washington. They got a first-round pick that if it doesn't convey the first year for the Heat, it ends up being an unprotected first for Terry Rozier. Masterful work from the Hornets front office. But the hard part is next, because Brandon Miller's clearly a guy. Mark Williams has had injury problems. He's clearly a guy. LaMelo's had massive injury problems. He's clearly a guy. But what do they do this offseason now that they'll probably end up with the top 3 pick in the draft again? They have basically a new front office. No, they do have a new front office. They got rid of Mitch Kupchak. New ownership. What direction does this team move in this offseason?
So what I have written down on my little sheet here, goals. The first thing I have under goals is make a LaMelo decision. And they don't necessarily
what would you
have to do that this offseason, but I really don't know. I really don't know with LaMelo, because I feel like it could go either way. This is something where this decision, it could be, because if LaMelo has another season where he plays like 30 games or something like that,
you're stuck.
You're stuck, like at that point. Right now, you could probably trade LaMelo, and another team could talk themselves into being like, we're buying low, and they might be getting a lemon. Like, you might be able to like escape with something. Now, the other side of that coin is you could trade LaMelo right now, and he could be a 2-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star that you traded away from your rat-ass franchise, like just before he got good. So
basically the same exact thing that the Pelicans were going through with Zion last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they could go back in time, I think they would have kept Zion. Even though I know Zion wasn't available for the playoffs, the Pelicans and the Hornets, those franchises' goals. Dude, we talked about this the other day. We went through the Hornets playoff history. Dude,
it's bleak, man.
It's the worst of any team by a mile. Like, there isn't even anyone remotely close. I mean, I think they've won 3 playoff series ever.
And it's like, yes, they were an expansion team, but like they've still been in the league for like 20 years.
They came in the same year as the Heat, I think.
Is that true? Oh my god.
Maybe slightly after the Heat.
Well, no. Well,
they were an expansion team twice, to be fair.
That's what I was just gonna say. Like we're we've got to distinguish between like the Pelicans franchise that technically has the Hornets stuff, and like I'm talking about the Bobcats. Like, so that this team has become, and it's fucking bleak. I don't know, like, and yeah, I think they're definitely. It's just such a risky thing to do. I don't know if any GM has the balls for that, because you're not going to get fired for keeping LaMelo at age 22. You know what I'm saying? You will get fired for trading LaMelo, and he's good. So
first year. So I think that, look, from all the reporting we can tell, by the way, Cole just put it out in the comments, they came in around the same time as the Heat and the Raptors, who both have titles in conference finals. So yeah. That's the measuring stick, even if they did leave and there was a gap in the Bobcats thing and whatever.
Yeah.
But as a whole, they've been kind of a cursed franchise. And we talked about them a little bit, but the reporting leads us to believe that this new GM is going to have a green light to do kind of whatever he wants. And I think that part of that is basically everyone but Brandon Miller is not untouchable. Like, I think that you can trade pretty much anyone you want. And the LaMelo question comes down to, do you think he's going to be healthy? Recent history with the balls suggests no. And if you trade him, what is that upside? And what are you getting back? Because there's going to be so many guys moving this summer. I think it might be better to hold on to LaMelo, because think about the names that we've already talked about. Paul George, Jimmy Butler, Brandon Ingram. Even like LeBron's probably not leaving, but LeBron might change teams. Yeah. And even if you want to go a tier below that, maybe Draymond changes teams. Maybe guys are going to move a lot this summer due to the parity. Trey, Kevin Durant, possibly. There are so many guys that are on the move that I don't know what team looks at LaMelo's health situation, looks at his contract situation, and says, let's give up value to take the risk on that guy. Even if it is a buying low. And like I said, some of this team building shit requires some luck and all that. LaMelo's an amazing player. I actually think if he was healthy again and he could ever get back to that, I think his ceiling is underrated. I think he could be a top 12 player in the NBA if he could ever get right. It's very, very rare that someone has that combination of touch, playmaking, and size. But the thing is that this is all the same stuff we talked about with Zion last year. And Zion beat some of the allegations this year. And I think that he still has some question marks because he got hurt right before he could play in the playoffs again. So what team would be willing to buy low on LaMelo and give up real value for him, do you think?
I think a lot of teams would do. I think Danny Ainge is one off the top of my head.
That's a good one.
Definitely,
the Jazz, they'll be star hunting. So
that I think the Los Angeles Lakers, if they were resetting around LeBron, I think would definitely have some interest. They're no strangers to the Ball family. I think that I think it would be very interesting to see what Masai Ujiri thought about trading for LaMelo Ball. I think that I think the Raptors, I don't know, that one's a little bit funky, but I think that is, I think a lot of the good GMs, when a guy is 22, it's $35 million a year, which is pretty cheap for guys of that talent. A lot of people are going to be interested, and you could get a real bidding war going versus if something else is going on. But as you said, this is also a year where a lot of other stars are going to be changing places. Like Donovan Mitchell will be a preference for a lot of teams that are trying to do something right away, like the Miami Heat or something like that.
But the Bulls and the Nets are another good one that were thrown around in the comments. Honestly, if the Bulls are looking for a way to, I know it sounds insane because they just signed Lonzo and then Lonzo barely plays on the deal. It's a massive risk. Don't get me wrong. It's a massive risk. I mean, but if they want to get off the LaVine contract and they can give up just a little bit more to get off the LaVine contract, and the Hornets are okay with taking the chance on LaVine, and they get picks, and they're like, we get off the LaMelo contract. It's a business we don't want to be in. LaVine's deal is shorter, even if it's still got some years left. I believe it's shorter than LaMelo's because LaMelo's hasn't even started his 5-year max. Yeah,
it's 5 years. Yeah,
and LaVine has 3 years left. There's a world where the Bulls could talk themselves into that because that's the kind of upside swing I think that they need, right?
Yeah.
I do sound like Bill right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a risk, but I would respect that from the Bulls because I think the way that the Bulls have handled their last few years has been a joke.
They're the least good team to talk about in the NBA because they're the anti-slop team. And the basketball gods would never reward an anti-slop team. You have to
make no trades. Yeah. You don't even give us draft fodder to talk about. What is your purpose, the Chicago Bulls?
Yeah, wow. What's the slop you're giving us? Fucking Vooch extension? Fuck you. Get out of my Leave me alone.
But that's the decision that the Hornets are going to have to make. I would lean towards they don't trade him because of the way that the market's going to break.
I agree.
And then look, you got a decent young core with him, Brandon Miller, and Mark Williams if they can ever get healthy.
Can I read you? I'll read you their depth chart. Okay.
Yes.
So projected starters for next year is LaMelo Ball, Cody Martin, Brandon Miller, Grant Williams, and Mark Williams. With rotation guys, your rotation guys being Vasilij Micic, Trey Mann, Nick Smith, JT Thor, and Nick Richards, with Bryce McGowan's and the corpse of Seth Curry deep on the bench.
Yeah, their depth fucking sucks. Like that's the thing, is that even if LaMelo gets healthy, they got to start hitting on some of these draft picks. They got to start making some moves in free agency.
They have $40 million in cap space, assuming that they, waive Bertans or use his option or whatever, I mean, I don't know if they're going to re-sign. Maybe they re-sign Miles Bridges. I don't think they will. But
apparently all of the reporting says they're going to. Man. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's rough.
What the reporters have said and why he didn't waive his no trade clause was because he knows that he can get like a decent bag from them.
Whew. All right. Well,
look, it's gross, but I mean that's what the reality of the situation is. Like, yeah, and only the Hornets can have the bird rights is the thing. So they might sign him to a tradable contract, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
And then a year from now, maybe they trade him.
I think there's a pretty good chance. The other thing, so what I have on their needs, goals is to get more talent in the door was the other thing I have. What I have for needs is be a normal team, and I have that triple underlined.
Be normal.
Be normal. I think they've just got to like build an identity. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't have Steve Clifford come in and be ignored for the 9th year. They need a real fucking coach. I still don't really know why they fired Borrego that one year. Like, I don't know what that was. He did a pretty good job. Do you remember that? He did like a pretty good job for like a year or two there, and then they just fired him and brought Steve Clifford back. That was insane.
Well, they have new ownership now and new front office, so they might be like, I didn't they hire Jordy? Did I make this up? No, that was the Nets. Jordy Fernandez. Yeah. Have they not hired their coach yet?
I don't think so. Not that I can remember.
No, they haven't. Okay, Bert's is telling me they have not. And
okay,
he knows. So.
Well, weren't they connected to Kenny? What's his name?
They hired Kenny Atkinson 2 years ago, and he left.
That's okay. That's
before he could even. Yeah, JJ Redick is the current name that is being attached to I highly doubt that JJ Redick takes the Hornets job.
Yeah.
Charles Lee. Okay,
that would be good for them. Like that's what I'm saying.
I don't know anything about Charles Lee, but
he's good. He's good. You need a coach.
You have a real opinion on Charles Lee. Come on.
He fixed the Celtics. He was a normal assistant coach for us.
I don't even remember that.
No, okay. We hired him this offseason. I knew from the Bucks. He was Bud's top assistant on the Bucks. Like he's a good.
You want to get to the playoffs?
Yeah. No, he's a good. Now if Bud gets hired somewhere, Charles Lee will probably join his staff, I would think. But I don't know. I think that something like that. Hire a normal guy who's going to hold players accountable. You need just a real defense. You know what I'm saying? You need to build a real defense, and guys need to know who's playing night in and night out. Establish a hierarchy.
Hornets culture.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not even kidding. Like, establish a culture because it's been a fucking clown show there for years, and that's why I'd be really disappointed if they re-signed Miles Bridges. Be a normal fucking team. Play your young guys. Get everyone good. I actually kind of like Nick Richards still. I don't know. Like, I did not like him in the draft.
Trade him for Brandon Ingram or Donovan Mitchell. I can't remember.
I like Nick Richards. I think Nick Richards is a real player. But I think that I also think Nick Smith is really good too, by the way. What?
Who could they target in free agency?
So that's the thing, is they only have $40 million. So like the max guys are not going to be available to them. It's going to be like normal guys. So I had,
home. Is that Malik Monk's music?
Okay. So that's okay. Literally what I have here is I have flip guys, and the 3 guys I have is you overpay like on Bruce Bound contracts to guys that you can flip down the road to contenders. And the 3 names I have are Malik Monk, Gary Trent, and D'Anthony Melton. who I think all fit with what the Hornets are trying to do and are also all going to be valuable to contenders later on down the road. And you can probably trade them on a like 25 to $30 million deal at some point. Maybe not Melton necessarily on that, but like Gary Trent and Malik Monk, I definitely think you could sign those.
Melton's back problems, I think he's going to end up signing like a prove it deal with a team, whether it's the Sixers or another team. I think it's going to be shockingly low. I think it's going to be like $5 million a year. And everyone's going to be like, how did you get D'Anthony Melton for $5 million? I'm like, his back might just be fucked up. Like, I don't think the Sixers would offer him more than $7 million a year. I think that they would just be like, look, come back on 1 year. And then a year from now, if you're great, we can sign you to a bigger contract. We have your bird rights. Like we need to preserve the cap space right now. And if a team throws a bag at him, good for him. I hope he gets a big bag, but I think the teams are going to be a little bit hesitant because of his availability. But the other guys, Gary Trent Jr. and Malik Monk, certainly more in. I would be interested in them getting Malik Monk back. I mean, it would be fun to have him and LaMelo back together. And then even when LaMelo's out, you'd have a guard that I don't think he has all-star potential, but he could be in the conversation for a year or two, I think. Like, he's very, very talented. Let him cook. Let him run the show for a little bit. I mean, and if you want to give him $25 million a year, the Kings can only offer like 18 or 19 million. So
and I think that would be like fun for them. I think they're going to be able to flip Grant Williams. They got a first-round pick for taking on Grant Williams. I think that they're going to be able to send Grant Williams to a team at some point. Like, tell me the Bucks wouldn't want Grant Williams. The
Bobby Portis for Grant Williams deal that was rumored, something like that.
Yeah, or even Pat Connaughton for Grant Williams and like something.
Sure.
Like a pick swap or whatever. Like there's stuff out there where you can like flip Grant Williams, but I think that they do pretty well in the draft. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. They have draft targets. Again, we've kind of talked a little bit about this draft, but the problem is that a lot of the good players at the top of this draft are guys who pretty much have to play point guard. Guys like
Topic, Reed Shepherd,
Rob Castle. All of these guys are guys who would pretty much have to play. They like could draft Klingon, but like it's not like optimized. You know what I'm saying? You do have Mark Williams. Like,
if you have Mark Williams and you believe he's going to be healthy, that's
like,
the only guy I'm not drafting at the top. Of this draft.
So I kind of like them as a swing big team. Like I think that they're like something like Sarr. You know what I'm saying? They could play Sarr at power forward. Next to Williams. Like
I think Sarr's stock is probably going to be skyrocketing because of these playoffs. Like just the size, athleticism, and defense component of the way that the Timberwolves and the Knicks have played. I think that could really help his draft stock. Like I think people were going to draft him high anyway. Like he was going to be a top 3 pick or whatever. But if you want to take the swing, he's the toolsy guy to take the swing on, and he's massive and skilled. So
and putting a defensive team around LaMelo isn't a bad idea. You know what I'm saying? And you've got playmaking on the wing from Brandon Miller. There's if you get Malik Monk, you're going to be chefing. That's going to be a chef team on the wing. You know what I'm saying?
It'd be fun.
Yeah, you can afford to have some of those things. I also think Ricochet would be like a big upside swing for them. Ricochet and Sarr are the two guys who are lower floor, higher ceiling for me. Like in this draft, that I like. Those are the boom bust thing, and I think the Hornets are in a situation where they kind of need a boom bust swing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they have Miller is their good, like middle of the road guy. And they do have like LaMelo in place. If the plan is to play with LaMelo, like longer term, like if you want to like turn yourself into a real team, you need like real talent here. And if you've got they're going to be picking, anywhere between 1 and 7, 8, something like that. Like
they're probably going to end up to a top 4 pick. I mean, right now they're they have the third best odds.
I think they're most likely to be 5th.
Okay.
Technically, let me.
All right. Well, let's do a draft sim here. Okay. So I just did a draft sim and they fell to 6. Okay. So that's where they're going to end up. They also could be top. They're the team. I think they're in a good position because they're at It's weird to say for a team that has LaMelo and Brandon Miller, but the new ownership and front office, this is basically year one of a rebuild to me, or year two. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I think that they're basically in a good position where they can take a risk at the top of this draft. Like, I've been big on certain teams getting, get a role player. If you're, or I actually have been more about taking risks in this draft. But if you're a team like the Grizzlies, I can understand why you would want to be like, let's just draft Reed Shepherd or whoever, Donovan Clingan, because even if they're lower ceiling, I feel comfortable that the rest of my core is good enough that it doesn't matter as much. The Hornets should be taking a grand slam swing and taking one of these guys that has high upside, because they don't know what their core is, and they don't know if their best or second best player in LaMelo is going to be available for this to matter anyway.
Yeah. And I think that is, I would do, that. I think like if they wanted to do a safe pick, they could target a guy like Reed. And then
Reed is going to fit a lot of places because of the shooting.
Yeah.
But like, if
I don't like it for them, I don't like it for them.
Yeah, I don't really love. Honestly, if LaMelo's healthy, I don't love Topic, I don't love Reed, and I don't love Clingan for them. But otherwise,
I don't like Castle and Rob either, to be honest, for them.
You could talk me into Rob if you believe that he could be like a Malik Monk type.
Maybe.
Because I like Malik Monk and LaMelo, even if defensively that backcourt's going to be food.
Yeah.
But offensively, it would be awesome. But I generally agree. I would go for like a Sar. I would go for even if you want to go for, if they fall a little bit, a Ron Holland. Yeah. I would go for the big upside swing type guy in this draft. And look, if you miss, you miss. I'm kind of like, whatever. I think this draft is middling to shitty. And I can live and die with taking a risk at the top of this draft.
Yeah.
Zach E, you are a Charlotte Hornet.
I think I had him on my long list for them. Like, let's see.
If they had a later first, I would be fine with it, but not this high.
They also, if Cody Martin is like healthy, they also might be able to trade Cody Martin for something. He only makes $8 million. If he's like somewhat healthy,
I think he could help playoff teams too.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, I think he could help. He's such a good defender.
Yeah.
The problem is he also has knee injuries.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if he has a healthy year and he's like available at the trade deadline, though, they might be able to swap him for like a good second or something like that, So
Yep. No, totally agree. All right, I will let you go watch the Celtics. We'll be back for the Patreon episode later this week. Subscribe at the link in the description. We'll be streaming on playback all throughout the playoffs as well. Follow us on YouTube and all that shit as well. So thank you for joining. Have fun. Go Cavs. They're already down 7-0, I think. So
great start. Go Wolves. All right, peace.